This reading today is going to be for the full blood moon that will take place depending on what part of the world you're in, either today, September 6th, or tomorrow, September 7th. Again, depending on where you are in the world. Just wanted to touch on some of the themes of this full blood moon. With full moons, we already know, and for those of you that don't, they symbolize culminations, completions, bringing cycles to an end. But a blood moon is an eclipse, which, there's a shadow cast over, and so the moon has a reddish hue. And it kind of amplifies the significance and the spiritual meaning of a full moon. But it also centers a lot on shadow work and or deep transformation. Embracing change, embracing growth. It's a time for some really deep introspection, and some even believe that during these full blood moons or these full moon lunar eclipses, that long-standing cycles are finally coming to an end. Like, this is an end that is happening that will kind of close a real chapter so that the person can move on to the next adventure in their life. This is meant to end some really long-standing inner cycles, inner hardships. If you're battling whatever inner journey that you're battling, this is a time that you can call upon the celestial energies, your gods, your deity, or your higher self, your inner strength, to really stop doing the things that aren't serving you, aren't good for you, to do the shadow work, to understand and be comfortable with where some of your fears or shames or guilts come from. But in general, it is the culmination of the end of cycles. So having said all of that, if this is your first time with me, my name is Angel. This is Rabbit and Moon Tarot. I'm an intuitive reader, so I do know tarot, but I rely heavily on my ancestors, my guides, and the energies that I work with. Today is going to be an oracle-led read, and I'll be using basically almost all of my moon oracles, because it really feels, it's full moon, it's intuitive, and I love working with lunar energy. So we're going to start off with some kind of themes that my particular collective and those who click on this video might be encountering. So let's go ahead and go forward and see what we have. So I have prosperity lies ahead, new moon in Taurus. So for those that have Taurus in their chart and or resonate strongly with Taurus, this might be a message specifically for you. You don't have to be a Taurus, but you may have some attributes, like you may love your comforts. Some people love sitting on a couch or sofa with a cozy blanket, a cup of coffee or hot tea, reading a book, listening to music, just that kind of cozy feeling. Or maybe they love decorating their home. Maybe they love doing yard work or home improvements. Those are all very Taurian kind of traits. So let's keep going. This full blood moon energy is already kind of telling me that whatever cycles that you are choosing to finally end in your life, whether it's disempowering relationships, toxic work environment, or sometimes it's simply just recognizing that you've grown as a person, and sometimes the friends or sometimes even family members aren't aligning. It doesn't mean that you don't like them. It doesn't mean that you have like sour grapes for them. It just means that your life is taking shape and moving in a direction that not everyone is traveling, and that's okay. We are allowed to grow and change as people. I don't know why that that little side tangent popped up, but it's for someone. Oh, I'm just hearing, don't worry about the disappointment of family or friends, like perceptions of people. And not just any people. This is about friends and family specifically. So that was a side for someone. Okay, and then we have two. Well, we'll put this one down. The first one is you are very close to achieving your goal. I fully believe this. I fully believe this. It's been an energy that's kind of been weaving in and itself in and out of my readings as of late. And then we have your commitment is being tested. Now, there's something specific about this that I want to say. Your commitment is not to someone. Your commitment to yourself is being tested. And that testing can look a lot like you've done some growing and healing. Maybe you are learning to draw healthy boundaries. And maybe someone from your past pops up and is dangling that carrot in front of you where they need their proverbial, cheer team. They need someone to help them feel better about themselves. And where you, collective, may have stepped up and said, I'm going through some things, but this person, friend, family, lover, ex-lover, has popped up into my life and says XYZ is happening, and they're used to you kind of, I don't want to say gassing them up, that's not it, but like helping tend to their ego and their wounds. And that has a lot to do with breaching your boundaries. I don't know who that's for, but this is a moment in which someone may be testing your commitment to yourself, to the healing that you've done, to the change that you've made. It also could be that you've recognized that you've moved and you've grown and you're so close to being kind of this new version of yourself that you want to be. Like maybe you're trying to kick a habit, or you're trying to, show yourself more self-love. Maybe you want to learn how to utilize your voice more, not feel like you have to be silent so that other people can shine. Your voice is just as important. Your wants and needs are just important. Your healthy boundaries are absolutely as important. But there's something like that's coming in from the universe, person, like a friend, a family member, a lover or a past lover, testing that boundary. And it's the universe being like, are you ready for this next level of abundance? Or will you, fall to I won't say fall to, but default back to previous behavior, which often is, in this case, it feels like abandoning yourself. Like you've just done all this healing, you've just made all this progress, or you finally took the steps in the right direction, and something's going to come in to kind of test whether or not you are going to stick to the proverbial guns, as they say, or keep your feet rooted in the ground and be like, I want to help you, but I've got to help myself first. I'm doing what I need to do. I can help you, but I can't do the work for you. I can guide you or point you in the right direction, but you have to do your own work. That sort of thing. What else is kind of the theme for this full blood moon? Okay, so we have two. So let me, I'll try to have to make some room for them all to fit. I was only going to take one more, but the Spirit gave me two. So then we have your hard work is paying off. New moon in Capricorn. Again, if you have Capricorn in your chart, this would be someone who's really financially savvy, someone who's really good with money, who has structures around money, that like you need a plan. But it also could be you might have some Capricorn traits where like maybe sharing your emotions isn't very easy for you, but making plans around money and being able to save and being smart in business is kind of where you shine. So you might have Capricorn, you might be a Capricorn sun, moon, rising, stellium, Venus, Mars, or some other placement that's important to you. And then the last one is bring love into the situation. New moon in Aquarius. Wow, we have a lot of signs in this reading. So we have Taurus, we have Capricorn, and we have Aquarius. And it's interesting because I know, as having some strong Aquarius placements in my own chart, that Aquarians are they're not always like labeled as people who are super mushy and very emotion led. But like I said, as someone who has a lot of strong Aquarius in their chart, it's not that, for me at least, I can only speak for myself, but with this energy with myself, it's not that we don't show love, but when we do, it is very purposeful. It is deep. We don't willy-nilly get into relationships. We love having friends, we love being social, but when it comes to love, we're very, very particular. So if an Aquarius is showing you love, you are very, very special, and they've let you into a vulnerable place. But aside from that, bring love into the situation. So I do feel like this has a lot to do with self-love, kind of reevaluating. Well, and let's just look at this energy again. We have prosperity lies ahead, and you are very close to achieving your goal. So Taurus, being someone who's grounded in like the home, the hearth, you have your cozy comforts. Maybe you love renovating the home, or landscaping, or cooking, or decorating your home, or just love cozy nights in versus being out in a crowd. You don't have to be a Taurus or have like lots of Taurus placement, but it could be something that's important to you as far as what attributes the Taurus has. You're very close to achieving your goal. Your commitment to yourself, I really feel that, is being tested. Are you going to abandon yourself? There are certain wants, needs, and desires that you require as, a human being. And sometimes, and I'm feeling actually pretty strongly that you've kind of always bent for other people, like made sure everyone else's needs are being met. But this is the time where you've done healing. Your hard work is paying off. That Capricorn energy, who's good at work and finances and planning and that sort of thing, is paying off. And that's why you're being tested. The universe, or this lunar energy, is saying, okay, we're at a full moon. This is about culmination and closing of cycles, but not just any full moon. It is a blood moon. It is about shadow work. It's about deep transformative energy, introspection, having some sort of breakthrough and understanding either your emotional self or your spiritual self. This is a pivotal time. Something around this full moon. I say this all the time with the lunar cycle, but my channel is Rabbit and Moon, so a lot of my readings is powered by lunar energy. I really feel that the collective that is starting to kind of find their way to my channel also feel guided by the moon, whether or not purposefully or unknowingly. I've said before, for those that kind of resonate with my readings, you should look at your calendar, your literal calendar, the month of September and all the months prior this year, and been like, when I make decisions, when I feel guided to do something for myself or to heal, are those during full moons or new moons? You might be surprised. So anyways, this energy, this full blood moon is talking about you are on the precipice of breaking a certain cycle. You're I feel like you're having like some sort of breakthrough spiritually or emotionally about your own understanding, and you've done healing, but you are going to be tested. And that's not because the universe is being cruel, but the only way that you can know that you're really you can't be healed in isolation. You can say, well, I'm healed, I'm not mad about this, or this doesn't affect me anymore. The only way you're going to know for truly if that's a thing is if you are put in a situation where normally this would make you default back to an old way, or trigger you in some way, or you give your energy to someone that doesn't give as much back. That's the only way. We accept testing in other areas of life. When we're moving from high school to college, there's testing to make sure that you're placed in the right classes. When you move up in a job, before you get the job, you have to apply. That is you being tested. Do you have the skills? When you are practicing a sport or martial arts, you are tested on your skill and your prowess in whatever. You see what I'm saying? We accept the testing in other places of our lives to show that we're ready for this next level. So don't abandon yourself. You're being tested with old energy that is returning. It doesn't always have to be a person, but just being in situations and if it's like something emotional, like negative self-thoughts or addiction, like you're going to be tested, but you are strong. You're so close to this goal. Your hard work is paying off, and bringing love into the situation is investing in yourself, believing in yourself, going to bat for yourself. And when you do that for yourself, when you start speaking your mind, start utilizing your voice, you start drawing those healthy boundaries, you start recognizing that you have worth and your voice should be heard and not to negative self-talk yourself, then if you're looking for opportunities in job or closer relationship with friends or family or romance to come into your life, once you feel more centered and love yourself for who you are, is when those floodgates and things will start coming in. This is this is the breakthrough you might be having at this point. That maybe unknowingly you've been hurting yourself for a really long time by allowing certain behavior from yourself or from others or from the things around you. So that we've got the theme. So let's go on to what clarification do we have for prosperity lies ahead with this other oracle. We have talk less, feel more. I'm hearing that song. I think it's by Elvis. A little less conversation, a little more action. A little less conversation, a little more action. That song. It's an older song, and then it was made in I think the late 90s and early 2000s into a dance song in a movie called Go. If you remember that movie, that's a long time ago. I was quite young. And why is that? Okay. Either Elvis Presley has some influence in your life. Maybe someone in your life loves Elvis Presley, or you do. Or the movie Go, the soundtrack to the movie Go that came out in maybe 2001 or 2000. I don't know. I was a young babe, but you know what I mean? It's from a while ago, but that is an aside for someone. But going back to this, it's a little less conversation, a little more action, a little less talk and feeling more. I'm also hearing stop saying who you are and start being who you are. Essentially what I'm getting from this prosperity lies ahead, the prosperity that lies ahead has a lot to do with you no longer adhering to what other people expect from you, or or no longer acting the way that people want you to, no longer saying things to placate other people so other people feel comfortable. This is about pulling your energy away from those that may be siphoning energy away from you or want you to act or dance in some way so that they feel comfortable, and start being comfortable in your own energy. Not giving your energy to those, not, speaking whatever would make someone else feel comfortable, but starting to feel okay with yourself. I'm hearing for some reason that if it's too quiet, you need to put something on like music or conversation, like a news in the background. I'm getting the distinct feeling that you might be the type of person right now that you're realizing that you need to be okay with your energy, because I'm seeing someone at their desktop or their desk on their computer while also having the TV on and maybe also scrolling through their phone. A lot of outside, if nobody is there for them to engage in conversation with, this energy feels like they do a lot to have a lot of sound around them. Less talk, feel more. Turn off the TV, put down your phone, turn down the music. If you need music to help meditate, I can understand that. I do that. But spend time in less noise and in more quiet with yourself. Something about quiet and learning to be comfortable with your own energy is leading to the prosperity. Maybe for some, you've taken up a meditative practice. So very close to achieving your goal. So we've got what the lunar energy is kind of showing us that is coming to a head at this full blood moon or this full moon eclipse. So This lunar energy is saying you're very close to achieving your goal. What else? What else does it want to tell us? Ooh, oh my goodness, that is entirely too many cards. And that one almost fell out of my hand. So we're gonna, that's 4, 5. That's too many. I'm sorry, Spirit. Can we just have one for the you're very close to achieving your goal? There we go. Release control. Not everything. Okay, so hold on. So here it's a little less conversation, a little more action, right? Taking action. But sometimes the lesson that we learn is that not everything needs to be controlled or micromanaged or forced or planned. Sometimes you have to let things unfold and then learn how to adapt and not let it trigger you or make you fall to a past version of yourself when you are presented with a situation that you didn't account for or you were unready for or you're taken by surprise. Because here's the thing, yes, you can plan a whole lot of things for your life, but there's always going to be instances in which you can't plan for. You can't account for how people are going to act or what they say, what they do. So yes, this very close to achieving your goal, it almost feels like with the release control, because you're so close to achieving your goal, is you've had the discipline to put yourself through a certain amount of healing or research or understanding. But one of the last lessons that you have to understand is when to release control, when to learn how to be in your own energy, when to learn how to take a situation you didn't expect or weren't counting on or were taken by surprise and change your reaction, change your perspective and how you look at something. Because again, like I said, you can't control how other people act, what they say and what they do, but you can change how you perceive what it means and how you react. Sometimes those last lessons before a big change are quiet. It doesn't, the chapter doesn't end, or the cycle doesn't end with a big bang, but it closes with silence, with surrender, with release, with trust in yourself. Okay, so what else does this lunar energy want to say about this? Your commitment is being tested. Forgive. For some, your commitment is being tested. Like I said, there's going to be some sort of test that comes forward that is going to highlight the situations in which maybe you defaulted back to an old version of you that isn't helping you, that it doesn't serve you, that doesn't add to your growth, that puts other people before you. You're being tested to see whether or not the healing that you've done can be applied in a situation where it used to get a rise out of you. It used to trigger you. It used to make you feel small or made you feel like you needed to not speak your truth. And in those situations, when those energies come back up, whether it manifests in a person that's trying to breach or step over your boundaries, and you have to hold healthy boundaries, not in anger, not in revenge, not in cruelty, but out of self-preservation and peace of your own happiness and your own energy and for your own mental well-being. Sometimes it comes in a person, but sometimes it may come, I'm hearing like a dark night of the soul. Like maybe it wouldn't be a person that comes through. Maybe you have a particularly hard emotional time and you are at that precipice of, do I treat this moment of fear or uncertainty, do I treat this moment with how I once was? Or do I allow myself to forgive the fact that I am a human being, that I've made missteps, that I've maybe not always acted in my own self-interest, but to forgive that version of myself so that I can grow into the version that I always wanted to be or know that I am. And that would apply for someone who is breaching, trying to break, trying to overstep your boundaries. A situation that someone comes forward, family, friend, lover, past lover, that they try to, get into your good graces and or to have you fulfill a role that they were once used to you having, and now you're not that person anymore. It's about defining that test. Is about defining and holding those healthy boundaries for your own self, you know, peace, but also to understand that if that person balks, you can forgive them and let them go on with their life. Because being mad at someone, being, you know, filled with rage at someone is still giving them your power, still giving them a piece of your peace. Forgiving yourself and forgiving others for breaching your boundaries while still being like, this is my boundary I'm holding up, it frees you. So maybe the test that, to yourself, your commitment to yourself, your commitment to this journey, this commitment to your healing, this lunar energy is trying to highlight that yes, you will be tested. It will be hard. But can you hold those healthy boundaries? Can you still go to bat for yourself? Can you still honor yourself and not abandon your wants, needs, and desires? And then forgive yourself for the times that you had a harder time and forgive the person for their behavior. That doesn't mean you have to allow it, but you can forgive them because it's a freedom for you. Holding that sort of resentment or anger just steals your peace, and it still gives them a part of your power. So let's move on to your hard work is paying off. Okay, then we have clear your mind. Yes. Oh my gosh, this kind of feels like this energy where I just said forgiveness of yourself or your past missteps or uncertainty or acting out of fear, shame, or guilt. Forgive yourself. You're human. It's a process. We're taking a step at a time. We're learning and growing every day, but also forgiving other people for their own journey and their shadow. It is a way to kind of take back your power, and it's a way of like clearing your mind. And this hard work is paying off. You would be noticing the change in yourself. You would be noticing, like before, like the big test comes through, and maybe it isn't a big test at the end on this full blood moon. Maybe you've been tested in little ways all throughout the last couple of weeks or months, and recently you've recognized that all this shadow work that I'm doing, how I've tried to go to bat for myself, how I started putting my wants and needs before I help someone else. I actually notice a difference in myself. I feel different about myself. I'm reacting differently. It's not that you're not reacting emotionally, but you recognize that someone else's anger or frustration or pain is their trauma trying to be, projected onto you, and you don't have to accept that. You can recognize the journey and the difficulty that someone else is going through. You don't have to accept that behavior. You hold that boundary. You keep your peace. You hold your power. And in that, it presents a certain clarity of mind. You may have been noticing, hey, lately I for some reason out of nowhere, you might have just had that moment where you're like, I can tell that I'm acting differently. And because I'm acting differently and I'm prioritizing my own mental health and my heart and my well-being, I'm actually feeling different. I'm looking at things differently. The hard work is paying off. Okay, so let's look at bring love into the situation. Oh, we've got two, which I'm going to take because I just heard take them. So this first one is work through your feelings. Remember how I was saying that you have to be okay with what you're feeling you have to be okay in like your own energy. So working through your feelings is recognizing those moments of clarity when you can really feel that you're reacting differently, but also understanding that we are still human and we are going to have moments where we rise to the occasion and we understand and we're clear of mind, but we're also going to have moments where we flag, we waver a little bit. And it's not that you flag or you waver a little bit that's important. It's what you do when that happens. That doesn't mean like when you heal yourself that you're never going to be tested ever again, or you'll never be in a situation where you feel sad, shame, guilt, fear, or any of that stuff. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is what happens when you do feel that way, when you're presented with another situation that is a mini test for yourself internally or for someone, who's pushing on those boundaries. It matters what you do. So see your feelings, work through your feelings, be comfortable in your own emotion, rather than if you're feeling like you're having a crap day, rather than being like, I'm having a crap day, the whole day is a wash. Sit in your feelings and be like, okay, what led to this point in which I felt this way? Why do I feel this way? How can I communicate for myself or to others how I feel, if that is necessary, and how I can work through it? Do you have a practice of peace? Let's talk about that Taurus energy. Maybe you like to do yard work. Maybe you work on a ranch and you work with animals like chickens or goats. Maybe you channel that frustration or that day where you struggle into making a really wonderful dinner for yourself. Like transmute that energy, work through your feelings. The other card that came out was reveal what needs to be seen. Then we have, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but I missed a bunch of the other signs. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, because I said up here, if you are these signs, then that means something for you. So we have Pisces, Taurus, Pisces again, Gemini, Aries, and Scorpio. So if those are in your chart, or you have strong placements, or you feel like you have those attributes, some of this might speak to you. But the work through your feelings and reveal what needs to be seen. I mean, what needs to be seen is, I'm feeling is you. You need to see yourself. Bring love into the situation. What we're clarifying here is allow yourself to love yourself. It's okay. I always like to say, like, fall in love with yourself. Again, date yourself. Do something nice for yourself. And when you love yourself and appreciate yourself and recognize, like, hey, I'm a pretty amazing person. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. But I'm a pretty damn good person. When you start feeling like, and you have balance within yourself and you start understanding, then if you want that opportunity in job or romance or collaboration, those opportunities will start finding you more and more, not because they weren't there already, because you loving yourself is now allowing them to come in. When you don't love yourself, you're building like the biggest energetic wall to all your abundance. It's not that the universe doesn't want to give it to you. It does. Not that the lunar energy doesn't want to give it to you. It does. But when you don't love yourself and put yourself in a position where you make sure that your wants, needs, and desires are being met, and you're putting everyone else before, and then you're getting upset that your needs are being ignored, or you feel unworthy, you're blocking your own abundance. It's kind of like that analogy I've used before in the channel, where when you're traveling on the plane and the air flight attendant says, okay, well, if we lose pressure in the cabin, an air mask will fall down. Put your mask on first, and then you can help those around you who need help. Because if you're too busy helping other people and you forget to put your own mask, you're probably the person who's going to pass out. And then you can't help people. Help yourself first, then you can help other people, right? That makes sense, right? We hear it all the time. Help yourself first so that you can help other people. So then why doesn't it make sense for some to love yourself, and then you can love other people, and then people can start bringing in love that you want, that aligns to you? Okay, so let's get some messages. Let's get some messages. We're going to start closing it out because my last reading was so long. I'm trying to keep this a little bit more brief. What are some messages that need to come through? Whoop. So we have knowledge and drawing down the moon. Drawing down the moon, if for those who don't understand or haven't heard that term before or unfamiliar with the phrase, drawing down the moon in people who work with lunar energy is the idea of, and more specifically, if this particular practice group has what they call a high priestess or a high priest, it's when that person calls down the lunar energy and they embody it. But it doesn't have to be in a situation where it's a high priestess or a high priest or some leader of a coven or a religious movement or a sect or something like that. You can call down the moon at any time because the moon is healing and gentle and intuitive, and you can tap into that energy at any point. It's your life. You do what you want with it. And the drawing down the moon is, for me, when I see this card, when we're talking about prosperity, when we're talking about, stop trying to make everyone else feel comfortable and start feeling more centered within yourself. It's drawing down lunar energy to trust your intuition. Really trust yourself. What is your soul saying? What does your heart say? Where is it pointing you to? What job would be fulfilling? Intuitively, what is your heart space saying to you? What job would be fulfilling to you? What relationship have you always wanted to pursue but never did? What friendship did you want to mend or bring closer? Trust your intuition. I'm also hearing that some of you might even talk to the moon, like informally, kind of like you're talking to the wind or you're talking to the moon at nighttime when you have a hard time. Maybe you're talking to your ancestors too, but they're listening. Moon, universe, ancestors. When you think you're alone and you're talking about what's hard in your life and you wish things could change, and if I could just be this or if I could just be better, the universe, your ancestors, your guides, the moon, the lunar energy, they're all listening. They want to give you what you need to succeed and thrive in life. But you have to play an active role. You have to be an active participant in your own destiny, in your own life. And part of it is trusting what it is that you want, what's calling to you, who lives in your heart, what opportunity do you want to go towards. Okay, so you're close to achieving your goal, and be comfortable with the idea of like release control, surrender, allow intuition to guide you. What else do we have? So we have enchanted. It's moonlight. I feel like that's a super strong confirmation. You're so close to your goal. This is not always about holding tightly or trying to make things happen. Trust your intuition. The moon, I love the enchanted. It's almost like saying this moon magic, this lunar magic, is not going to guide you wrong. It is intuitive and it's in direct connection with your heart space. Use your inner magic. Because anything that is meant for us won't be lost to us. But sometimes we have to get out of our own way to help it come in. Okay, so your commitment is being tested. And forgive. What else do we have there? So we have focus. Again, your commitment to self, it feels like, is being tested. You learn how to forgive yourself, forgive others, and focus on your journey. Focus on the healing that you've done. Focus on forgiving yourself, forgiving others, loving yourself, trusting your intuition, recognizing that not everything needs to be controlled. Sometimes you just have to let if you feel more comfortable with like your instinct or your gut feelings like lead you, use those terms, but not to lose focus. That, like the airplane analogy, before you can help someone else, you got to put your mask on first. Help yourself first, then help others. Love yourself first, and then love can live in romance, in friendship, in opportunity, but it's got to start with you. Focus on you, your healing, your wants, needs, and desires, healthy boundaries, using your voice, saying what you think and feel. Focus. I'm saying all that because I feel like I'm speaking to a collective who often lets other people's wants and needs supersede their own. Please focus on yourself. And that is part, and it may be even one of the biggest parts of the cycle for this particular full moon eclipse or blood moon, is ending the cycle of always putting someone else before you. Recognizing that self-love is self-care. Okay, so your hard work is paying off, and clear your mind. Okay, celebration. Yes, I love that. Okay, so your hard work is paying off. You've been noticing it. You could feel how, like, from past situations that have been hard, that have been difficult, whether they were, toxic jobs or disempowering relationships, or relationships that were like tumultuous, or you felt like uneven, whether they're friends, family, or love relationships. It does feel like the relationship part of this reading would be connected to something long term. So it's either a family member, a long-term friendship or relationship that you've been in, or an energy you've been connected to it for a really long time. But it's always kind of having put the attention on them. Like I said, focus here, start focusing on yourself. And since you've been focusing on yourself, you've realized how much you've grown from all the different experiences that you've had. You can see, you can maybe even feel like, I feel different. I'm noticing that I'm reacting different. Like, I'm not letting someone steal my peace. I'm simply removing my energy and holding a boundary and saying, well, they're on their own journey, and I'm not going to let them try to spill their trauma all over me. I wish them well on their healing journey, but I got to protect mine. There's a certain level of like joy and celebration that I'm getting from this. And I love that in this, when I said relationship, I didn't even realize that there's two people holding hand in hand. So it may be very specifically a love relationship, maybe past relationships. You've kind of always given of yourself, but your needs went unmet, and or you were ungenerous with yourself. Like, oh man, I'm hearing you, maybe you wore a mask to to keep the peace in the relationship. You kept who you are kind of under wraps. I'm seeing a mask. So maybe you were wearing like quote unquote armor or quote unquote mask to keep back who you really are. But we're not doing that anymore. The healing that you've been doing, the focusing on yourself you're doing, is bringing you clarity of mind. If someone's going to love you, they're going to love you for you. So stop wearing the mask, stop wearing the armor, because when you connect with people wearing a mask and armor, they're loving a person that doesn't exist. They're loving a person that is you're a cosplay of a person. And then when you feel like you can't connect with them, or you're doing all these things for them and they don't love you for who you are, well, if you were wearing a mask or armor, you weren't allowing them to see you. If you weren't communicating your wants, needs, and desires, it may be that, yes, they were taking too much of you, but you were also giving too much of yourself and allowing too much of yourself. And that has since changed. Step by step, I'm seeing these incremental changes where, again, it's not about withholding love from people, but it's about adding love and recognizing love and holding your own sacred, sovereign love of self at the fore. That has to happen first. And when you do that, when you help yourself, you remove a block where other people can help you. Like, think about it. How much you were there for other people. How much you were there for other people in other relationships, How much you were there. And in the beginning, when you were giving, how good that felt to be there for someone, to help somebody. Give someone else the gift of being there for you. Give someone else the gift of being like, this is how I move through my relationships. This is how I see my own happy. This is how I cherish myself as a person. What about you? And it becoming this wonderful balance between two energies that understand it's an equal give and take situation. You validate their feelings, they validate yours. You give love, they give love. You say, these are my wants, needs, and desires. These are my boundaries. They say, cool, here's my wants, needs, and desires and my boundaries. Do they align? Wonderful. Let's do this damn thing, Like, allow someone to really know you. there's something beautiful about this. I feel for some this might have a lot to do with the recognition that part of why relationships didn't work for you, I don't want to say didn't work for you, but why certain relationships didn't work out and how they've ended is because you were afraid to draw boundaries because you felt like that would be selfish or cruel or too much. But no, the right person will respect your boundaries, hold them sacred and sovereign, and then give you the love and affection and the wants and the support and the validation that you need and require to be in that healthy relationship, and vice versa. So, bring love into the situation. We had reveal what needs to be seen and work through your feelings. So, what are some closing messages that we have? Boundaries. Like, there's part of me that doesn't even want to like extrapolate on that because I've been saying this all reading. It's about healthy boundaries. When you love yourself, when you take care of self, when you recognize what your particular wants, needs, and desires are for your own particular brand of happiness, that's not cruel to create healthy boundaries. It's what's needed for good self-care. And the right person, the right family, and when I say family, the right community, the right job will understand and respect that. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap it up. I said I was gonna those were gonna be the last cards, but I think I want to do one more, and I'm actually gonna read from the book, not use it just intuitively, but I'm gonna use Queen of the Moon Oracle. So this is quite literally the moon, the lunar energy talking to y'all. I'm going to get 3 cards and then I'll read from the book. I'm not going to do my interpretation. I'm going to read from the book because I'm being told that's what needs to happen. So let's get 3. Oh, we've got 2 already. So we have release. Sorry about the glare. These are very glossy cards. So release. Then we have long night moon, darkness. I mentioned somewhere during this reading the dark night of the soul. That's confirmation for me. And also confirmation for me. Yes, that is. Look at the little rabbit right there. That is definitely confirmation for me because I am definitely very comfortable in doing shadow work. And then the last one we have, let me put these cards up here. Hunger. Oh, you know what's funny? For me as a reader, I love these cards because it's confirmation of the reading, but also it is confirmation for me because here's a little aside about me. I named this channel Rabbit and Moon because the rabbit is considered an earth creature. It's connected to the 3D, but it's also considered a spiritual creature connected to the moon. And I believe that my light and my shadow are represented by 2 animals, and it happens to be a rabbit and a wolf. The rabbit is the part of me that is how I present in the 3D world, a gentle kind of creature that loves nature but also connects to spirituality. But my shadow side, my inner preservation side, my boundaries, my sovereignty, my protective self is a wolf. Loyal, unwavering determination, protective. These are, for me, this is a confirmation of my shadow work, but also I feel like it's confirmation for this reading because someone is doing their shadow work and recognizing the two parts of themselves. Take that as it resonates, but I'm going to go ahead and start reading from the book. So we have 27 release. So 27, that's 2 plus 7, that's 9. So that's hermit energy. Let's see. Oh, I said 9 and I was looking for 9. Okay, so then for release. Let it go. It is time to release anything that does not serve you. Old negative habits do not engage you anymore as the payoff is not enough. You are ready to make room for bigger, brighter, more aligned things. So that's the book definition for that. Okay, well, there's a longer, because you can see there's like the definition and then it goes into detail, and I'm being told to read it. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to pick it up again. Sorry, I don't know why it stopped recording. Um, but let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and read this card. Sorry. I freely release what I no longer need for the release card. There is a payoff if we decide to finally release something we no longer need. The payoff is as individual as you are, but there will be a universal feeling of making space for something new. The secret to effectively releasing what no longer serves you is, in fact, knowing that the payoff will indeed be worth it, which makes it super important to know what that positive payoff may be. For example, giving up on a habit such as smoking, which we know is detrimental to your body in that it causes cancer and many other nasty things, has payoffs. What the most important payoff is for you to may be different for someone else who is giving up on the habit. But it needs to be clear to your mind, body, and spirit. You might give up so that your body feels healthier generally, or so that your children and those around you aren't exposed to the smoke and the chemicals, that you live longer, or that the money you are wasting on cigarettes could be used for something that is more in line with what you really want, such as travel or a home, all of which are real payoffs for which it is worth releasing the habit. In magic, in particular in spellcraft, the art of release after raising power is vital to its effectiveness. Should we raise power without sending it out to the universe or deities in a focused way, it remains stagnant or stuck. This can cause us to feel overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I love that it says in magic, the art of release after raising power is vital to its effectiveness. Should we raise power without sending it out to the universe or deities in a focused way, it remains stuck. Remember how I was saying right here where it was like, here, where it says release control, and it's like not everything requires action. Sometimes you have to surrender. This is what it's saying. It's like when you find the purpose to break a cycle, to allow for new things to come in, you have to do the healing and then release control and just trust that your intuition and that your guide or your deities or your higher self is going to guide you through. I believe the universe won't put you to it if it can't see you through it. And so when you release, you're not holding like the control, you're just releasing. And then you can see in that clarity card over here where you're like, I can actually feel the change in myself. You can see how the healing has been working for you or how breaking cycles is working for you because you've stopped trying to drive the cart, sort of. You're just allowing life to happen as it would. And when those situations come up that would, tease you of like the bad habit or try to engage you in an old version of yourself, you've released and you're just letting the test happen. And you're like, I can rise above that. I don't need that cigarette. I don't need to respond to that, abrasive text. I don't need to engage in this sort of conversation. I'm going to pull back and protect my peace, and not out of cruelty, but literally out of self-preservation. Okay, so for the darkness card, let's find that one. That is card 40. Okay. Okay. You are entering a time of introspection, a leaner time, or a time to turn inward to plan and strategize. It is a time to do shadow work, which will bring big dividends later on. Release what no longer works for you. At the top of this reading, I said, as people who are familiar with the lunar and celestial movements, full moons are about culmination and ending cycles, but a full blood moon or an eclipse moon, full moon, is about doing shadow work and introspection, about deep diving. It's manifesting intentions or having emotional or spiritual breakthroughs. Confirmation. The darkness needs to be there as much as the light. I'm reminded of something. I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to intuit this, and I'm not. I'm not, but I'm going to tell you an aside that I'm hearing in my head right now. I'm thinking of these two memes that I see often. One of them is, I have loved the stars too much to ever be afraid of the night or the dark. I might have that wrong, so I apologize if I have it wrong. But the other thing I'm thinking of is, you know how a star shines so bright? It's surrounded by a lot of darkness. Okay? In order for us to even see those stars, there needs to be darkness around there, i.e., a balance. But let me continue. The darkness needs to be there as much as the light does. One of the earliest human fears is said to be the fear of the dark. We fear what we can't see. We fear what we may be hiding. In reality, the dark is as important as the light. In nature, there are many nocturnal animals that go about their business of living under the moon, not the sun. The darker times of the lunar and seasonal cycles signal a time to naturally turn inwards, to stay close to home, to look closely at ourselves, and plan for the light. In the northern hemisphere, the long night moon usually occurs in December, around the winter solstice. This is when the nights are indeed long and the hours of sunshine are short. It's cold and the people would begin to be snowed in. It's during these long nights that we can begin to do our shadow work, undertaking the self-reflection needed to identify what isn't working for us and what might be causing us pain. This could be a bad habit, a destructive pattern, reoccurring useless fears, or anything that holds us back from being the best we can be. Once we see these aspects of ourselves in the dark, we can simply decide whether they must go. We can decide to release them once and for all. We get to transform. I love that. That is just confirmation. Okay. Angel, stay focused. I'm going to move on to the hunger, or the wolf moon. Okay, so wolf moon, hunger. Feed the good and hope within you. There will always be a lean part of the cycle. Prosperity will come. Do not let your hunger blindly dictate your actions entirely. I recognize all that I hunger for. Oh my gosh, why? I'm getting the download right now that, especially since I was speaking so much about the celebration card. Let me grab it again because it's a huge moon and there's a couple in the moon and then there's a wolf in the moon. So for those that resonate with this reading is about self-love before romantic love. And I can understand in these two cards that I'm seeing so closely related to myself, closely related in my estimation, in my channeling, is that someone is hungry, is wanting, is desiring a love relationship, deeply wanting that love relationship. It almost feels, it feels really, really, really intense. But again, that deep hunger is something that you have to satiate first within yourself, your self-love, so that you can enjoy the meal here. I know it's like a weird kind of analogy, but like if you are hungry for love and romantic connection, then when it's there, oh my gosh, why? I'm so sorry. This might trigger some, and I apologize, but I'm hearing if you hunger for love connection or carnal connection with someone that you love, so much so that when it's there, almost like a starving animal, you're consuming so fast without actually enjoying it, without actually asking the other person, are you hungry too? Did you want to partake in this meal together? Do you want to share? It's like consuming, and it may even feel like it's not enough. Because the hunger that's in, okay, I haven't even read this yet, but the hunger that exists is a hunger for love, yes, but you have to feel the self-love hunger first. Consuming the love that someone gives to you in like the most like almost feral way I'm seeing is never going to fill the spot in you that is reserved for you to love yourself. Very strong, like, aside, but that is absolutely meant for somebody. Someone who wants a love connection so badly, a romantic love so badly, maybe someone in particular or just at all. It feels like the hunger for love, for romantic love, is so strong. But the first step is to satiate the hunger for self-love. Otherwise, you will devour love over and over in relationships and never feel sated or full, because there's a spot in you that needs to be satiated by yourself. And then you can enjoy this love banquet, this love feast together with someone. Again, very strong aside. I don't know why, but if that resonates, put a little black heart in the comments below, because I want to know. Okay. I'll read this all over again because of my aside was so long. Hunger. Feed the good and hope within you. There will always be a lean part of the cycle. Prosperity will come. Do not let your hunger blindly dictate your actions entirely. I recognize all that I hunger for. An old and wise Cherokee of the First Nations of the U.S. is speaking to his grandson about life. The young boy asks his grandfather, "It is said, grandfather, that everyone has two wolves within them. The first wolf gives darkness, despair, hate, and jealousy, and sorrow, and the second wolf gives light and hope and helpfulness and kindness. Yet, grandfather, I feel them fighting within me. What do I do?" "My son, these two wolves will always fight, and they will fight within each person. You are no different," said the grandfather. "But," said the boy, "grandfather, which wolf will win?" The grandfather answers, "Whichever wolf that you feed." We must be careful about what we nourish and feed within us. If we give abundance to the aspects of the self that can harm others and ourselves, then we cannot truly thrive. Having no limitations upon these behaviors and patterns hurt us and starves the higher and finer parts of ourselves that will bring us more happiness. To ripple that happiness to others is part of why we're on the planet as humans. We must also recognize that in life, just because it is a cycle, there will always be leaner, less abundant, or less bright times. We have built our resilience and self-trust for times like this. We know we are both loved and protected. The cycle will soon turn to less shadow and more bounty. Interesting. Like, I've heard that story before. I definitely have heard that story before. But what I also want to add, as also in another aside, my goodness, is that yes, feeding both wolves equally keeps them equally matched, but I don't personally believe that the shadow side of us, or the shadow wolf or black wolf, has jealousy and hate. I feel like those things happen when we ignore our inner wolf. I said it in the reading that I did a couple of days ago, the twin flame reading, where, you know, if you deny what your wants and needs are inside, it's kind of like, let's say, the wolf. It's like a starving and feral and cruelly treated wolf. It'll lash out not out of fear, not out of anger, but out of fear and out of a way to survive. If you neglect looking inwards and paying attention to your wants, your needs, your desires, and your highly protective inner self, then they become triggers on the outside world. People in the world who reflect your inner world will start triggering you. But when you start paying attention to your inner world, loving your inner world as much as you do to how you act on the outside, and you present a balance, then you have two wolves inside of you that is healing and kind, but also protective, and helps you hold those boundaries so that no one breaches them and harms you, and doesn't allow you to harm yourself in whatever way it means, whether it's negative self-talk, physically harming yourself, or, imbibing alcohol or cigarettes or whatever, you know what I'm saying, just as it fits. But that is the reading for the full moon or full blood moon, or the full moon eclipse that's happening either tonight, depending on where in the world you are, because it's September 6th, Saturday, or tomorrow, Sunday the 7th. I hope that this reading helped. It brought some sort of clarity, or helped you understand the energies that may be kind of whirling about you from the lunar standpoint. I really appreciate you being here and supporting my teeny tiny little tarot channel. I can't do any of this without you. You all help bring in the messages that need to be heard on this channel. And if you like the way that I read and you kind of dig my vibe, I really appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe. It helps the message get out to other people who may want or need to hear the stories. I hope this was confirmation or validation for someone. And I also hope that you have a wonderful full blood moon energy. This is Rabbit and Moon Tarot. My name is Angel, and I will see you at the next read.